This is the Project Management Podcast. We bring project management topics to beginners and experts. Find us on the web at www.thepmpodcast.com or send your emails to pmpodcast@gmail.com. Hello and welcome to episode number 40. I am Cornelius Fichtner. This is the Project Management Podcast for the 15th of July 2006. In the last episode, I spoke about organizational project management maturity models. And I said that if you work your way through these, that they will also help you or entice you to evaluate yourself as a project manager. And that got me kind of thinking. So now you're evaluating yourself as a project manager, what's next? Well, of course, become a better project manager. And that means training followed by a certification. But which certification? And that's what I would like to explore in part with you today. While I will be giving you an overview of the most common and some not so common project management certificates and training opportunities from around the world, my main focus today will be on PMI's brand new Program Manager certification. And also, we will be giving away some free software to you as well. So let's get started with the usual announcements. Yeah, well, and the big announcement today is that the new website is ready. So, we are no longer at pmpodcast.blogspot.com. We are now at www.thepmpodcast.com. So, it's not pmpodcast.com, it's thepmpodcast.com. Tell me what you think of the new website. I would appreciate your feedback. In the last episode, I also spoke about having eaten my first homegrown zucchini and that we were looking forward to eating our first yellow squash. In the meantime, we have zucchini and yellow squash coming out our ears. The weather here in Southern California is just way too good, and these vegetables just keep growing and growing and growing. So what's my point here? Well, my point is that this has obviously been an extremely successful project for me and my wife. And we hadn't really thought about what we would do if we had too much success in our little gardening project. Now, we are giving away vegetables to neighbors and friends. Let's take a look at your projects. Have you ever thought about what you would do if you were too successful? Let's say you are manufacturing a new gadget, design a new website, or build a museum. What would you do? Have you ever thought about it? What would you do if you were successful, if the demand was overwhelming? Now, the reason why I brought up the museum is because I read or heard this story about a museum. I'm not sure if I've actually read it. I've looked it up. I couldn't find it anywhere. So it could be one of those urban legends. But the story goes something like this. So there was this museum project. And they actually did consider what they would do in case they were too successful. The museum had a certain size, and of course, the parking lot had a certain size. So what would they do if they had so many people wanting to come to the museum that the parking lot would just overflow? Well, they spoke to their neighbor. There was an unused lot next door, and they made arrangements in advance that they could use this parking lot so that the people who overflow would be allowed to park on that lot. The agreement was made in advance. This is good project management. If you look at your risks and you see your negative risks and you see your positive risks. That shows that both for too many vegetables and also too many cars, neighbors are very valuable. Now, this lesson teaches us that we should look in our projects at what we are going to do if we are just too successful. Doesn't matter if it's vegetables or cars. All right, let's move on to the software giveaway. I have received an email from Con Zimaris. And he writes, Cornelius, my firm has just released our professional services automation software called Alloc PSA. Your listeners may be interested in winning it if they work in a services outfit which tracks timesheets, billing, cost centers, etc. While it is not a full-on project management replacement for dedicated project management applications, it does a serviceable job of project tracking. It has modules for project management, tasks, timesheets, financials, CRM, item loans, personnel skills and leave tracking, calendaring, reminders, fault and issue tracking, service desk, document management, and reporting. More information can be found at www.allocpsa.org. Con and his company are making 2 copies of this software available to us, and you can win the software by writing to me at pmpodcast@gmail.com. In the subject line, put the word software, and in the body of the email, all you have to put there is your name and the country that you're writing from. And as always, you have 2 weeks, so it's the 15th plus 2 weeks, that's roughly the 29th. So Wednesday before that would be what? Oh God, I should have worked this out beforehand, shouldn't I? So it's about the 23rd. It's about the 23rd of July, I guess. In the last episode, I also made an announcement saying that if you have any project management related questions, why don't you send them to me? And I will answer them for you. Well, and we have our first question from Ron Smith from Cincinnati in Ohio. And Ron writes, Cornelius, I am a new listener to your show. I have recently discovered your podcast and I have downloaded the past episodes. I was pleasantly surprised to discover a podcast dedicated to PM. As you are aware, the title of project manager seems to apply to anyone who is assigned to accomplish an aggregation of tasks. Although I have managed projects through intuition for several years, I've only begun formal training in 2003. For many years, I have been an engineer for P&G and GE in Cincinnati. 6 years ago, I came to the EW Scripps Company, also in Cincinnati, as corporate operations manager. After 4 years of managing the company's infrastructure, I outlined a project management department within operations. I started the department in January of 2005. Our attempts to establish a PMO failed so miserably that we are now forbidden to mention PMO. Let me tell you, Ron, it's exactly the same thing at my company as well. Now, continuing with his question here, our executive VP established a new IT department called Enterprise Planning and Analysis. 5 people were selected to staff this department. I was chosen to head up the project management piece. Now here's his question. The EW Scripps Company, they own Food Networks, HGTV, Fine Living, newspapers, TV stations, etc., was established in the 1870s. Its culture is evolving, but very, very slowly. They are old school with extremely high core values. However, to implement change requires a very clear, explainable plan and extensive analysis. They see the value of project management, but after a year, I've been successful introducing project charters, project plans, and WBS. I was listening to your show last week about maturity models, and I would like to know if you or others have been successful influencing well-established cultures. If so, what was the approach? Well, Ron, I have been working in 2 well-established companies in which we had to implement PMO-like structures. And we did this in 2 totally different fashions. The first one was a supermarket in Switzerland. And there we were very lucky because they were really embracing the change at the moment. And the CEO from the top said, this is what we need to do. We need to have project management maturity in our company. Therefore, establishing project management methodologies, a handbook, handouts, training, getting people on board was not as difficult because the CEO mandated it. Well, you don't have that, obviously. So what do you do then? Well, let me come to my current company, also very well-established company in the financial sector. And here we have to do it like you eat a salami. You cut one piece at a slice and you chew on it. And this is exactly what we're doing at the moment. We started out very, very small. You've actually been able to introduce project charters, project plans, and WBS. We are not even as far along as you are. We have a template in which our software developers, yes, we're only talking about software development projects here, our software developers are supposed to write down the documentation of their changes, the requirements from the customer, the technical specifications, etc. I think I've actually uploaded the template to the site so that it's available for viewing. Now, these are two totally different approaches. One CEO mandated, the other one is just one slice at a time. And I think you're doing exactly the same thing by introducing project charters. What I have learned is go for the low-hanging fruit and find those departments who are most likely to embrace this change because it's going to help them. If your methodology helps them, they will become your champion. They will go out and they will work with you to market your methodology to other departments and get them on board. So I actually think you are on the right way of changing and influencing the culture in your well-established company. Just keep on going, keep on chugging, as they say. All right, so much for this question from Ron Smith, Cincinnati from Ohio. If you have a question for me about project management, send it over, pmpodcast@gmail.com, and I will give you an answer. We have 1 or 7 helpful resources for you today. It all depends on how you count. You may have heard this sentence a little while ago. I think it was about 5 or 6 shows ago when I started it pretty much the same way, the helpful resources section. And then I mentioned a link that a listener, Bruce Nichols from the UK, sent to me. Well, today Bruce sent another link. He mentioned then that he and a few collaborators are working on a white paper. And this white paper is now ready. It is entitled Project Management, Our Plan for Your Plan, and it is published by the ILTA, the International Legal Technology Association. And in this white paper, you will find 7 articles. But let's talk about the word white paper, first of all. This is not white. This is a beautifully designed document. I mean, it is visually extremely pleasing. I enjoyed just leafing through it and looking at the work that these people have put into this. This is very nice. This takes a white paper to the next level. Okay, let's take a look at what you'll find inside this issue here. 7 articles written by 7 different people. Let me go through them. The first of all is called The Enigma Called Project Management. The next one, Project Management, a peer group survey. Third is A Communications Plan is Key to Project Management. Well, don't we know it, but someone has to say it and write about it. That's always good. Next is SharePoint for Project Management. Then we have Exclusion Lists, Control Your Project. Number 6 is starting a PPM initiative. And number 7, that's the one which Bruce Nichols wrote, soft skills for project managers. Now, I haven't had a chance to really read through every single one of these articles, but the ones that I have been able to glance at, they were very well written. So I suggest download this PDF document. It's free. You don't even have to sign up, and it's really a nice document for you to keep and go through. Download it, read it. This is a very nice resource. Thank you so much, Bruce. Now, before we move on to the main section of the show, let me first of all remind you that you can find the helpful resources on the website at www.thepmpodcast.com. Now, on the new website, it is slightly different. You will see on the left-hand side in the menu a link, Helpful Resources. And all helpful resources are now categorized. And you can click on a category and you will see the various helpful resources within that category. At the same time, the helpful resources are also available on each individual episode. So go to today's episode, and at the bottom of the episode, you will see a link, helpful resources for this episode. Click on it, and it'll give you a listing of all the helpful resources of today's episode. So you get both of best worlds. You can go by episode or you can go by category. And of course, today's helpful resource is under the category White Papers. All right, let us move on to the main section of the show. As I had mentioned in my introduction, last episode's discussion about OPMMs, Organizational Project Management Maturity Models, kind of got me thinking, because I said then, well, you can take these OPMMs and also apply them a little bit to your own career as a PM. Kind of evaluate yourself against these tools that are meant to evaluate a company. Well, but yeah, now you've evaluated yourself, no matter whether you've done it this way or in any other fashion, and now you're thinking, okay, what now? What's my next step? Well, of course, your next step has to be to become a better project manager through training and through taking a certification. So we're going to jump around the world and take a look at the various project management certifications that are available out there, with a focus at the very end on the PMI's new program manager credential, the details, or rather the overview of which was released at the end of June. Let us start in the UK. Let us start with the Prince 2 practitioner. Now, if you would like to become a registered practitioner of Prince 2, you have to sit for 2 exams. You have to sit the foundation examination, and you have to then continue with the practitioner examination, in that order. Now, the good thing is you can do these on the same day, or you can do them 2 weeks apart or years apart, depending on where you are at in your project management career. The foundation examination for Prince 2 is a knowledge-based examination. They ask you 75 questions, and you have to have, I think it was 38. You have to have 38 of those correct. The practitioner examination is more of a competency-based test. However, it's still a written test. You are being given a scenario, a background scenario, and then you have to answer 3 questions. I believe, if I remember this correctly, there's a total of 150 points that you can get, and you have to have 75 points in order to pass this particular practitioner exam, and then you are a Prince 2 registered practitioner. Next, there is the IPMA, the International Project Management Association. It is, by the way, the oldest project management association in the world. It's a non-profit Swiss, my home country, Swiss registered organization whose membership is comprised primarily of other national project management associations throughout the world. So it's very likely, no matter where you live, that your national project management association is a member of the IPMA. Now, the IPMA developed a 4-level certification system. IPMA D is the lowest one that they have, so to speak. It is the Certified Project Management Associate. IPMA C is the Certified Project Manager. B is the Certified Senior Project Manager. And IPMA A is the Certified Project Director. And of course you start DCBA. I'm not sure if you can actually jump directly to the A. I didn't look that information up. However, from what I can tell, the D, the Certified Project Management Associate, is a knowledge-based certification, while C, B, and A are both knowledge-based as well as competency-based. All right, so we have so far looked at Prince 2 from the UK, the IPMA, which is registered in Switzerland, but it's actually worldwide, and you can take these tests all over the place. Now, let's stay in Switzerland for a moment, because I was thinking, well, what about if you don't want to take a full-blown exam, but you're just looking for training? What now? Well, I went ahead and I used google.ch, which is Google in Switzerland, and I found a project management website that lists 13 nationally known schools from around Switzerland which offer project management training. So it's very easy for you to find project management training no matter where in the world you are. Go to your favorite search engine and put in project management training, and I bet you will find something in your area that will allow you to move on in your project management career and better yourself. All right, let us move back to the United Kingdom. We're going to the Association the APM, the Association for Project Management. Now, their qualifications are aligned with the IPMA's 4-level certification program that we have just heard about. The difference being, however, that they have 5 certifications that they offer. There is the introductory certificate for anyone who's looking to understand the principles of project management. This is not aligned with any of the 4 IPMAs. Then there is the Certified Project Manager, which is IPMA Level B. They have the Practitioner Qualification, which is IPMA Level C. And then they have the APMP, which is Level D. Oh gosh, all these acronyms and levels and letters, it's a bit complicated. It's obviously better if you look at this on a list. Finally, they have the APM Project Risk Management Certificate, and this is something that only the APM offers. Level 1 and Level 2 for project managers, project and program managers who are involved in project risk assessment in any way. So this is something different that the APM in the UK does for you. So in the UK, you actually have 2 choices. You can go down the Prince 2 practitioner route, or you can choose to go with the APM's certifications. Next, I want to hop over to Australia, to the Australian Institute of Project Management, the AIPM, where you will find the Reg PM. The Reg PM is a competency-based workplace assessment program which requires candidates to compile a logbook. Yes, a logbook of evidence that shows that you are competent at one of 3 levels that the Reg PM offers. And that's the project team member / project specialist. Next level up is the project manager, and then the next level up again is the project director / program manager. So we've taken a look at Prince 2 practitioner, IPMA. We've also discovered what kind of training you can do in your own country. We've looked at the APMs and the AIPM certification. And finally, I would like to move on to the PMI, the Project Management Institute, which is based here in the United States. They offer, 2.5 really certifications at the moment. First of all, the CAPM, the Certified Associate in Project Management. We looked at that a little while back with Frank Reynolds, did a whole show about it, so I'm not going to go into this in detail. The next level up is the PMP, the Project Management Professional, which is also my designation. That's the certification that I have. And this, and also the CAPM, both are knowledge base certifications. You take a test, test. It's a multiple choice test, and there are certain prerequisites that you have to meet. And if you pass all of these steps, then you are either a CAPM or a PMP. The and-a-half credential that I spoke about earlier is the PMI's new Program Manager credential. I say half because they have just released on the 26th of June, it was, I think, a overview of what this new credential is going to look like. And let me go through this for you before we look at the pros and the cons of this. So it is obviously a program manager credential focusing at people who are in program management. Well, okay, what does that mean? The PMI has a nice frequently asked questions list, and I'm quoting here. They say that the target individuals are people who manage programs, and programs has been defined as the following, or rather the people who show competency in the following. First of all, under minimal supervision, program managers are responsible and accountable for the coordinated management of multiple related projects which are directed toward the strategic business and other organizational objectives. So a very high level there. Take the strategic initiatives of the company and then translate them into programs, into projects. That's what the PMI says is one of the main competencies that you need to have in order to pass this new credential. The second one is define and initiate these projects and then assign project managers to these projects to manage costs, schedule, performance, component projects, while you are still working to ensure the ultimate success and acceptance of the program. So you're not just running the program, you're actually down with the project managers. You have to guide them, you have to lead them, you have to make sure that your program is successful. And the last of the three competencies that they say a program manager should have in order to pass the exam is that you have the knowledge and skills to be effective in both the project and business or government environment to make decisions that accomplish these strategic objectives that you have been given. So that's pretty much the focus group of people that they would like to take this particular exam. Well then, what's involved if you want to take this particular exam sometime in the future? Well, there is a sequence of assessments that you'll have to go through. 3 actually. Now, the initial assessment of your competency, that occurs through the actual application process. Prior to even becoming eligible to pursue this credential, you are going to be evaluated through an extensive application process, and they're also doing a review of your education and a review of your professional work experience by what they say a panel of program managers. So this looks like they're going to go more in depth here and actually looking at each and every single one of the applications that they receive. The second level is a competence assessment, which occurs with a multiple choice exam. So similar to most of the exams that you know out there, you will have to pass a program manager examination, knowledge-based test. And lastly, there is an interesting third component to this, and that is the multi-rater assessment. I don't know if you've ever heard of a 360-degree review process where it's usually done online. You find colleagues, peers, supervisors, direct reports of yours who are willing to anonymously give you personal feedback on your where you are in your career, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. And the PMI is going to do something similar here, but focused on your competency as a program manager. So you are going to have to select the people in your own network to give feedback to the PMI about who you are and what you are in terms of program management. All right, so this is a brief overview here over what's coming from the PMI in regards to this program management credential. If you want the complete list, I have posted a link in the helpful resources to the PMI website directly to where they are announcing this new certification. The next question, of course, is this good? Is this bad? Well, I found a few articles on the web about this, and I'm also going to give you my personal opinion at the end. And the first article here is from Jack. And Jack has a blog. Again, you'll find a link to it. He doesn't give us our full name, unfortunately. So Jack has a blog, and he is quite critical of this new certification. He's not just critical of this new certification, he's also critical of the CAPM and the PMP. And one critique that he mentions, I fully agree with, and that's the fact that we have these PMP boot camps. So you can go to a seminar which will take you within 5 days from start to finish, and then you can go and pass the exam. I don't think that was the intention of the PMP in the beginning. It wasn't meant that some school trains you and makes you pass the exam. But hey, that's just what it is. He also says that he is quite confused about these 3 assessments that you do. You know, the signing up assessment, then you take the test, and then you have this 360-degree review. He then ends his blog by saying, and I quote, "In the professional organizations that I'm familiar with, that sort of promotion to program manager, of course, is based on performance and experience, and not on passing an examination. Program management is not just something that you come in at the entry level and do. I'd be worried to work in an organization where program managers are selected based on whether they have or do not have this credential, because that would mean that their means for evaluating competency are broken." All right, so much for what Jack had to say about this new credential. Next, Jerry Manis. You've heard of him. He's given away one of his books, Napoleon on Project Management, here on the show. And Jerry, well, first of all, he makes fun of the fact that we PMPs are sometimes called pimps. And he suggests, well, why don't we call this new credential the Program Management Specialist, which the abbreviation would then be PMS. And then he continues saying that in all seriousness, and I quote here again, "It is good that the credential will require such a rigorous application process. With so many organizations virtually guaranteeing instant PMPs, this one should have quite a bit of prestige." So Jerry also doesn't like the fact that today you can become a PMP within 5 days if you join the appropriate training programs, and he and I hope Jack as well, hope that this will take project management, program management to a different level. The third article that I found is by Mark E. Mullally. He wrote this in Ganthead, and he wrote, "Do we need another certification?" He wrote this on the June 21st, 2006. And he looks at the question, well, does it really help? Will this help that, you have these 3 steps that you go to? And he says, on the face of it, this latest certifications addresses some of the criticism that have previously been leveled at the PMI designation, mainly that it's a test of knowledge rather than a certification of competence, because now you also have to go through this 360-degree review. But he also concludes that until the actual assessment process and criteria can be reviewed, this is a theoretical question and cannot be fully answered. And this is actually what I like about the article that Mark writes. Mark quite clearly says, look, folks, we have an FAQ. We have a few basic pieces of information about what this new credential is about. So let's not slam it yet. Let's wait and see what the PMI actually is going to release, what the final requirements are going to be. This is pretty much my personal opinion as well. Let's wait and see. Yes, it's coming. Yes, you can now go out and shout, well, based on what I've read so far, this is not going to be any better than the PMP exam. Well, why bother? I mean, save your breath for the moment when you actually can see the final requirements for this particular certification. One fear that I have is that the marketplace has embraced the PMP. If you are a project manager here in the US, you have to go towards the PMP. I assume in Australia it's the Reg PM. In England, I believe the Prince 2 practitioner is pretty much the industry standard. So I fear that this new program management certification may go the same way that the CAPM went, the Certified Associate in Project Manager. They released it. It kind of didn't get any momentum, and it kind of went away for a little while. And now they brought it back with a vengeance. So I'm really hoping that the PMI has learned from this CAPM experience, and that they're doing it right this time round, and that they're making this a certification that has value, that is needed, and something that the business environment can embrace. Well, that was our long look at various project management credentials available to you from around the world. Yeah, and that's it for today. Thank you very much for listening. Next week, we will be looking at the scalability of project management methodologies. As always, you can find us on the web at www.thepmpodcast.com, or you can send your emails to pmpodcast@gmail.com. And when you write, please tell me where in the world you are writing from. And finally, we have this. Powerful project managers don't solve problems. They get rid of them. With that, practice what you preach. To lead, you have to lead by example. If you expect your people to work overtime, then work overtime yourself. If you expect punctuality at meetings, then be there on time yourself. Your team looks up to you as their leader and role model. Until next time.